We went on 15 first dates in Uganda over 3 weeks, and in this podcast episode, we'll tell you everything we learned. How are day game, night game, and online dating in Uganda, the types of girls you'll meet there, 2 new techniques we developed to sleep with 5 more traditional girls who in all cases hadn't slept with anyone for months or even years. We used the Inception technique to help girls open up to Western ideas of dating instead of sticking to more traditional ideas. And believe it or not, we learned how to break one of the biggest rules of day game and how to use cold hard logic to help girls make a decision that they actually want to sleep with us. Plus, you'll also learn what else is there to do outside of day game in Uganda. If after listening to this podcast episode you decide, hey, I want to join Saint Robert on his next adventure, then already in January I'm going to Mexico and I have 1 coaching spot available there. We'll spend a week day gaming together and I'll be teaching everything needed to start getting real results in day game. I'm going to a place that's full of tourists from all over the world, and also a lot of Latinas go there just to relax, party, or work. It's just a few hours away from USA and I don't have any other trips planned to USA, Canada, or anywhere in Latin America in 2026. So if you want to learn day game with me in that part of the world, this is your opportunity. You'll find all the details about how coaching usually works, the approximate pricing, etc. by clicking the link in the description. There you will also be able to schedule a free call where we can get to know each other and understand whether this is a good idea for you. And now let's jump into this podcast episode in which my guest, Mr. T, as usual, is off camera to preserve his privacy. So, Mr. T, let's start with the thing people are here for mostly is, hey, how is Uganda for day game, night game, and online? Let's break these down kind of one by one. And since this is a day game podcast, although this not that we day gamed a lot, but let's maybe start with how was day game in Uganda? What's your take on this question?
Day game in Uganda is very different from day game elsewhere. One of the things that one of the things we found is that traffic-wise, there's no particular spot you can go to that has the kind of traffic you'd find, let's say, in Prague or that you'd find on the streets of New York. It's kind of scattered. So that was something that is very different from all the other places with day game done. What did you think?
Yeah, I would say I would agree. The best, I mean, we went to Acacia Mall, and that was probably like when I was having my dates there in the evening, because I usually did the first venue in the cafeteria that's in a coffee shop that's in the mall. Around 5, you would see chicks there. Like you would normally see some traffic to pick off, but if you have some dates scheduled, then well, like what are you gonna do? Like not do your dates on day game instead if you already have dates set up? So it's sort of like during the day, absolutely no traffic, absolutely pointless to day game. But all this being said, I think the thing with Uganda with Kampala for day game is, I think if you live there, it's actually different because you do see these chicks. Few chicks around when you like we went to the crafts market and we saw that and then in the Acacia Mall you see some chicks even in downtown here or there. I saw some cute chicks. So it's sort of if you live there you can approach while doing your everyday things, right? So I think that's kind of the big thing with Kampala. That was my impression, that you can day game if you live there without dedicated day game sessions.
Yeah, so dedicated day game sessions are a complete wash. That's true. And if you remember, I think what I said is I was going to be working from the mall because the best you could do is snap a game and kind of approach as you see as needed. But a proper day game session, not going to happen. You're going to waste so much time.
Yeah, I'm cleaning my lenses, which I forgot to do. The kitchen towel. Yeah. So I kind of totally agree. Like if someone was just going there for a day game trip, I would say don't waste your time. But just don't do it. But that being said, night game and online, we are quite different. So maybe I don't go out partying at night, but you went out a few times. And well, no spoilers. You'll tell what happened. But what's your take on night game? Because you're the only one of us who knows anything about night game in Uganda, in Kampala.
Yeah, I'll be very specific that this is night game in Uganda. Well, so this is one thing that is very unique about Uganda. Going out in New York, going out in actually most places in the West, in the clubs, you don't have as many people sitting at booths unless you're doing bottle service, but you still have like a dance space. You have a lot of space, open space where people will um, more fluidly interact. There's a chance for you to stop somebody. In Kampala, or at least in Uganda, people, when they go out, they reserve a table. And I'm not saying that they pay for the table. They just reserve a table where they're going to go with their friends or their people that are like their cousins, members of the family, people they grew up with or people they went to school with for a long time. So there's a kind of a history with the people that are there. And so they sit at their tables and they almost barely, actually, they barely interact with people from other tables unless they know somebody there and only the person that knows them. So I found that problematic because I go out by myself when I go out, and it's usually easy for me. I have a strategy where I can watch groups, I can see what the dynamic is, and figure out how to infiltrate. And I did find this a bit difficult because one of the things is if you approach a table and no one there knows you, immediately any guy that's on that table is gonna like tell you to get the fuck away from there, right? Though.
So how direct they were about telling you to
Oh,
fuck off?
oh, dude, just like basically reached out, talked to the girl a little bit. The girl walks to the other side of the dude. Dude stands next to me and is just like telling me, "Hey, you better dip. You better fuck off." But he can't look me in the eye. So it's kind of like this weird, like I'm trying to get you to leave, but no one has the confidence to look you in the eye. And you notice this thing with Ugandans, they whisper, which is kind of funny. So everybody whispers when they're talking and you can't take them seriously. But so I didn't take the guy seriously, but I understood that his whole thing was leave. And so as a courtesy, I left. But I've seen that before. That's not the first time. I once almost got into a fight in a different um, location because I tried to approach two white girls that were with a black dude. And his his statement was, "Hey man, you can't just come over to my table. You need to send your ambassador to talk to my ambassador, and then they introduce you, and then you come talk to my people, right?" And I was like, "This is fucking bullshit." So that's kind of the scenario when you have mixed groups. But when you have single groups, like where it's just a group of girls, it's actually a lot easier. You can actually go in the same way as you would approaching any place where it's like you just try to engage, try to run some teasing, some um, conversation, and then you kind of figure out where you lie.
Okay, but you had this one night where you went out and someone you knew someone from the table that you were at or something like that, and because in the beginning you said, hey, it's all social circle, but then it turned out it's the opposite of social circle because knowing someone kind of turned out to be a bad thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, yes, I did get. There's a party I went to where basically I got introduced to someone else, and the vibe was good. But the thing is, actually, twice this happened. In one case, I was introduced to somebody, where they're like, "Hey, this is my friend or this is my cousin," and of course, I was like, "All right, I could try to get this girl out." So what I do is I didn't. That was the same night I do told me to fuck off from the table. So what I did is I waited this time for her to like walk either towards the bathrooms, but she was actually going to the car park to find some other friends. That was my opportunity. I ran over, quickly said, "Hey, I thought you looked really nice. And I'd like to take you out another time. We should exchange contacts." Right? I kept it really simple. And she was like, "Wait, but I don't want to like fuck up the whole thing." And she like my friend's cousin or something. And I was like, "No, like I'm your friend's, your friend is my friend's," some weird like thing. I was like, "We're so removed, you should be fine about it," right? So that was one thing that came up, which is like, "Hey, how closely connected are you to the person that I already know, and how messy is it gonna get?" So that was one scenario. I got her Instagram instead because I hadn't had much of a conversation. Um, she didn't reply, flaked, but that's fine. That was kind of the strategy I used for that. In a different one, I was introduced to someone else during a small party we had created. Complete stranger, only one person that knew her, and I've still been nurturing that number. So like, I have another date. I've gone on one simple date with her. I didn't try to pull first night. I'm trying to be cautious here. But I just set the vibe, and so I have another date either tomorrow or later in the week, and then I'll see how I can work through that. But I think I set up a good foundation because at some point we're talking about psychedelics and everything else, and like that was a very open conversation.
Very nice.
And so I was like, okay, I'm broken some barriers here, so I just need to work that one.
So if someone's going to Kampala and they're going to go out to a place like that, and now I understand there are different types of venues, right? There are places that are more like lounges, and there are actually places where people like a club, right?
Yes.
And now right now we're talking about lounges because a lot of the good places will be the setup will be like in a lounge, right?
No, actually, it's not good or bad. There's actually, I realized that every place has the same thing. People always get a table, but some have more space where people are more likely to dance around. So, for example, I think you had a date at a place called Catwalk Lounge,
Where they try to
right?
scam me. Don't go there, or go there and know what how things work. Just check the prices.
To be honest, I saw the other night I was out checking the very bougie place, like the one which is super bougie, and then I went to one which is kind of like everyone is a bit older. And then I went to, on my way back, I was like, let me stop by Catwalk. So the very bougie place I went from switching to Catwalk, Catwalk seemed like, oh, wait, hold on. This is like almost like a version. It's not divey, but like compared to where I was coming from, it's like, oh, this is like a bit like middle class. That one was like upper middle class.
Uh-huh.
Like you had 20-year-olds buying bottles and everybody that's 20-year-olds. But the setup was the same. People at their tables. And then in Catwalk, there was a bit of room to dance where some people were kind of like moving a bit, but others were still at their tables. And then there's a different place in a place called Bugolobi where there's a big line of different clubs and lounges. And there's a place called Silo 15. And that one is definitely closer to the Western style club where you have sitting space and then you have free movement and free dancing. I don't think there is a very particular it's not like better places are lounges and better places are dance floors. You have a version for each class, and you have a version of that for each class of people.
Okay. Okay. Clear. So, uh, if someone was gonna go there and go out partying, how do they find the places that are worth going to actually meet girls? What's your take on this?
One, they have to decide if they like girls with big butts because the average hip ratio, waist hip ratio here is waist is very small, hips are very wide. So that's like across the board, whether it's a trashy
Yeah,
girl,
but it's
whether
not gonna
it's
change from venue to venue, right? That's gonna
it's
be
not.
wherever
I'm
you
saying
go.
it's across the. Yeah, I'm saying it's across the board.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
one,
that's people understand that, but let's say they're in Kampala and they're gonna go out. They're thinking, okay, there's not a lot of day game here. Let me go out and do some night game. So, how do they find
okay.
like clubs or bars or whatever places to go to? Like, what do they look for? Is there anything specific to look for?
Yeah. So I can just say that areas. I already know the areas where they should go. Right. There are very specific clubs that you want to go, which are not like too local. Right, where you have a nice mix where you'd not feel out of place. A lot of those are in an area called Bugolobi. They're all on one particular street called Bandali Rise. Basically, that's the nighttime area, and you can basically peek into each lounge or club to see what the energy is like, and you can go in or go to the next one. Right, so I think there are like 7 lounges or clubs in that on one street, and then farther up there are a few upper scale lounges, still good. So it's just like you go in that area in Google Lobby and you will be able to kind of scope out and see what energy or vibe you want for that night. They're all really good. I've checked out most of them. I like them. That's where I'm actually going to be staying. I'm going to be staying close to there for most of the Christmas break. Um, and then the other place would be in Kololo. If you really want super upscale, then you go to Kololo, a place called Maison Noir or Alia, and there you can find like super upper scale. But honestly, Bugolov is pretty good.
Okay. What do you say, given the vibe with the booths and everything, is it worth going out at night? Like, is it actually possible to chat with chicks in these places?
Yes, it is. It is. Again, as I said, you need to be strategic in that the best thing to do is wait for them to leave the table if it's a mixed group. If it's not a mixed group, you can just go straight in, right? That's if
Okay,
it's
if it's
like
all
just a bunch of
chicks.
girls, you can always, yeah, if it's all
Mm-hmm.
chicks, you go straight in. In my case, I went to a place actually in Cololo called Oras, and I kind of walked around, scoped to see who was, see which people, which groups look like what kind of mix. And then at some point, I got eye contact with this one girl who was sitting somewhere in the club with her friends. She gave me back she matched my eye contact. I walk over to her, start talking. And her friends basically just ignored. They didn't even try to engage. They just let her do her thing. So that's something I noticed.
Okay, very good. Okay, let's talk about online. Uh, I think online experiences. We had different online experiences.
The
Me being Mazungu, I think gave a lot of I could just I mean I got like I don't know like I open Tinder and I have like 100 likes, and like chicks messaging me and I can't keep up with messaging them. So it was a very different experience. So of course, if you're, I think if you're like I mean, I'm not the most handsome guy in the world, but I'm not ugly. So, and no one seemed to care about the age gap. Obviously, just as everywhere else, Tinder Platinum, I think using Tinder without Tinder Platinum is a waste of time. Uh, but that was my experience. How was your experience Tindering as a black guy there? As a foreign black guy, very important distinction.
Well, it took me longer to get anywhere. Actually, I never got close to 100 matches, for one thing. But I did have the photos that I did put up, at least for Kampala, for any black guy. Those are, I would say, pretty high value photos, right? I think those cast me in a very good light. But yeah, I think my match rate was about somewhere in the 20 to 30s. Um, and one of the things is some people did wave, like initiate the conversations, but I have a feeling that those were like working girls because they just send a heart or a wave. I did get some conversations going and arranged. So far, I think I've done one, two. I've done two dates from, no, three
From
dates
online.
from online. Um, and then trying to at least set up another two. But mine is few and far between. One, I don't like texting. It gives me so
Hmm.
much anxiety. Um, but I've been working through it. I think the other majority of my dates came from actually in person, one way or another.
Was it more night game or day game?
Um, well, one was day game, one was a cafe at night when I
That was a
was
day game.
working. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was day. Again, day game at night, fair enough. So let's see, two day game, uh, one night game, uh, no, two night game, and then one social circle, and then two online.
Okay, so 7 days total, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so it sounds like online was harder for you, easier for me. So guys can use this takeaway however they want. Let's talk about the results we got overall during the trip because we both had a bunch of dates, and we obviously quickly realized that day game isn't really a thing there. So it's not like we had a lot of day game dates. For example, I had 8 dates, on only 2 of those were day game dates. Yeah, and you had 7 dates, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
And yep. Yeah, I had 7 dates.
one lay, right? So far.
Yep.
Okay. Do you see where you're getting stuck here? Because that's a like not a great conversion. So where are you getting stuck?
I didn't get stuck. So there are two dates where I just didn't pull. I was just like, I'm not into this.
Uh,
And there's a reason why I didn't pull because I work a lot, you know that, right? So I was doing a value proposition. I'm like, I could get the lay, but then it's like all this time is gonna be spent. And I'm like, I mean, I could do it, but the girl is not. I'm not like so enthused that
yeah.
it would be worth my time. So actually, two dates were going solid, And I just decided not to pull. I was just like, you know what, I'll just cut my losses. One of them was my first day game approach where I brought the girl back and she stayed over. And I set up another blue balls. And then I set up another one with that same person. And they came over, cooked, did a really good job with the cooking. But basically, this girl was just teasing me all the way, still stayed over, would not let me do anything. Eventually, I was just like, fuck it. I give
Yeah,
up.
obviously. In that case, yeah, fuck it. It's a waste of time. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so I had an opportunity for at least for two. I had an opportunity for two. Last night, I had an opportunity for one, but I was tired. So I told her, hey, listen, let's just cook on 2 days from now. But
Yep.
I know that the vibe was set up because she was just hugging me really tightly, like before when I was waiting um, for her Uber. She was just like, like holding a teddy bear, just cuddling on like for over 20 minutes. And she's the one that reached out to kiss me. So, yeah, the only thing is I'm just
Definitely gonna
a little
happen
messed up.
100%.
100%, definitely. And if it doesn't, well, I'll eat my shoes.
Well,
No, 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 I don't want to die. It's okay.
um, okay. Anything else interesting from the dates that's worth sharing?
Yeah, so it was one date which was I think that was my second day game or day game at night, I guess, approach. I did this date where the girl was basically not really interacting as much. She was shy, but she was sitting there and being very she was just compliant. Like at some point, I think maybe 40 minutes into the date, she wasn't really talking much, but then she pulls out her phone and is looking at Snapchat. And I'm eating, so I'm like chill about it. Because it wasn't like she was being a princess about it. I just felt like it was kind of like she didn't know what to do otherwise.
Mhm.
So she would chat. Anytime I brought up a topic, she would like engage. But in the silence, she was kind of like when I left silence, it would be her looking at her phone for a little bit. So this was the one where I was like, should I pull? Should I not pull? Because I already done like the escalation. We're sitting next to each other. I was able to escalate. I'd already done the verbal escalation. Everything had been passively accepted. And I was just debating whether to like go for the pull or not. I decided not to. But while we were waiting for, again, I was getting a ride to go back home. And while we're waiting for it, I just pulled her in really close to me. And she just like basically moved. Like anywhere I moved her, she moved. Right. So she was super compliant. And that actually blew my mind because in a second I was like, oh, this is a boring date. She's not maybe into me. Or like at least she's not like what is it? Like I could do the pool, but it's probably gonna be a lot of LMR. But it seemed like all I had to do was just lead there and she was
Just
just ready
pull.
to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that was
So
that
with
was
this
interesting.
one, it sounds well. I actually noticed this on quite a few dates where they're not great conversationalists, some of them, and you just really have to lead the whole conversation, the whole interaction. They're not good at like chatting, you know. I don't know why. Maybe they haven't been on a lot of dates or something, but it didn't. It seemed like you really have to just walk her through everything and just lead all the time, and don't expect her to like carry the conversation at any moment. Which again, not a really a problem. So yeah, this sounds like the girl. Remember the one where I told you that she shows up in this like dress and heels and like super cute, super beautiful. But I feel like, oh my God, she's such a good girl. Like, there's no point pulling and then leaving Aleph rooftop bar. I go for the kiss on our way down,
Yeah, I remember.
and then I call her. I call her because her Uber was stopped, and it's a middle of the night, not really, but late. So I just wanted to make sure she's okay. And I called her, and she's like, "Hey, what are you doing? Cooking dinner? Oh, I wish I could cook dinner with you right now." I was like, "Whoa." I
Right?
guess I should have pulled. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like it's hard to read. It was hard to read them sometimes. Also, the the one where after my last lay, my results were I went on 8 first dates and I got 4 lays there. But the last one was uh, she shows up for a date and she looks fucking stunning, like just amazing body, just my type of body, tits, nice but not big ass, cute, nice face, everything is there, amazing. And she seems like such a good girl. Oh my God. And then we went for the lunch with your friends, and I'm like, oh, she's such a good girl. I'm gonna try to bang her on like the third date if I don't do it on a second one. And this is like, I'm leaving on a Thursday. I go on a first date on a Monday with her. For Tuesday, we have a second date at my place, at our place, right? And then I'm already planning, if I don't bang her on Tuesday, I'm gonna meet her on Wednesday to bang her before I leave. But then she shows up to my place, and we cook and we do everything, and we did like a date where we were gonna cook and go swim in the swimming pool. We change in the she puts on a bikini, like a scarf around her waist. And then I come up with a reason to move to the bedroom to watch a movie because,
Hold
I
on.
let's yeah.
Remember that you couldn't get into the pool because they just put chemicals.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they were cleaning the pool. There was some chemicals in, and we couldn't swim, but we stayed in a swimsuit. So I was in shorts, she was in a bikini, and then I said, "Oh, well, let's not disturb my friend. Let's go to the bedroom while we watch the movie because we were gonna
well,
watch a movie." And although
the
you were
part.
leaving the apartment,
Wait, no, no. So this, let me add this because you're skipping bits that are quite interesting here, just for like entertainment value. The power cuts out. The power cuts
yeah,
out on that, and so it was just dark in the apartment. And I had been
oh yeah,
working. I was like working in my room. And I think I texted you. I don't know if I did, but I think I might have texted and be like, "Hey, do you need that support or whatever?" Anyways, so at some point I tell you that, "Hey, man, I'm just gonna go to the mall to work from there because I did need to work." And so I'm packing up my shit, and while I'm packing up my shit, Robert is on the couch watching a movie, and then he's like, "Hey, let's move from the city. Let's move from the living room so that we don't disturb my roommate." And in my mind, I'm like, "Motherfucker, you know I'm leaving."
yeah, but it was still, because there's always a list of you coming back in her mind, so it would maybe be harder to bang her there on a sofa, uh, which I still did in the first night in in
In
Uganda.
Thailand, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But I left you to
yeah,
your devices. Yeah, I left
yeah.
you.
So we go to the bedroom, and like she's like we're watching a movie, but we start kissing. She's on top of me, like grinding. I go to the restroom. When I come back, and she also goes to the restroom. But then I realize that later I start to make out and kind of kiss with her again, and I realize that so she was in a bikini and a scarf around her waist. But when she came back from the bathroom, all of a sudden she was in the top of her bikini and the scarf. The bottom, the bikini bottoms were not there anymore. And it's like, oh, okay, like it's on, obviously, nice. Okay, let's get it going. And I thought she was such a church girl because I think she last time she had sex, I think it was like a year ago or something.
Remember how
I
my
was
friends say
just
there's no good girl?
yeah, yeah. Well, your friends had an idea that all girls lie about when they had sex for the last time, which I don't believe in that. Maybe in some cases, but I think when you really click with them, they're kind of, it's not like I'm projecting that I'm gonna be her boyfriend or whatever.
For sure.
Um, and then it happened. My lay number four, uh, quality wise, not a great lay. Was probably the worst lay in Uganda quality wise. Although she was the one of two hottest ones. But I think I had a lot of fun there. Like one weird lay was where, and I told you this is the next day, and you were like, "Whoa, what the fuck? That's crazy." Where this good girl who shows up on a date, really beautiful dress, like heels, everything. She was looking fucking gorgeous, like very nice girl, right? And second date at my place again, cooking, and we really click, and then during sex, because we really like we had she felt like we have a crazy connection, I kind of built it up like that. And she really, because that's what you can do in these, even if she hasn't had sex for a very long time. Like if you build really really good connection, she will still feel that amazing connection as if you've been going out for a while. Because this girl, if I remember correctly, hadn't had sex for a year or two, and the last guy she had sex with, she dated him for a year before it happened. So talk about the church girl, right? So second date, we're fucking, and she just during sex she just says, Robert, I love you. I love you, Robert. And I'm like, oh my fucking god, what do I do now?
Be
Shit.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, but it wasn't planned. I tried to, like, she obviously knew what was happening. She obviously knew I was leaving. She had no expectations that there is going to be anything after delay. Yeah. Um, that was kind of the other lays were, fairly standard, fairly basic. Of course, there's a lot of, last minute resistance and things like that that we're going to talk about next. But it was just, it was fun. But these were the best ones. But to get all these lays, and you had the same experience. We talked on a previous podcast. Well, you talked about on a previous podcast how what you had to change a little bit to get the lay there. Um, and let's start talking about that, because we have two things we need to cover: inception and using logic to get laid. We partially talked about logic, but let's talk about this inception idea, or using storytelling to set up certain beliefs. Yeah, this is another example of how powerful storytelling can be in Daygame, and this was a great example where um, I started talking about this with you, where about how when going on a date, they would talk about a little bit how dating is here, or I would bring up a topic about how the dating is here, and I knew that it's kind of traditional, and they go on a bunch of dates and all of that stuff. But what I did, I started, for example, telling a story how, like, to me, that's really, really weird to go on so many dates and only then sleep with someone when you're in a relationship. And I would literally tell them, it's like, I would literally tell the story to girls how it's so weird to me, because imagine you're dating someone for a long time, you're in a relationship, but then you finally have sex. Well, what if you don't like sex? What if you don't click? What if the guy like comes in 2 minutes and that's it? What if he's like, two pump chump and that's it. Like what do you do? Then now you're fucked, because you're in a relationship. You can break up. And I could see in their eyes that they're like, yeah, that's like a real concern. But then I use this to set up my story to kind of see the idea. I start talking about how dating is like in Europe, for example. How in Europe, we don't have all these rules that we have go on this many dates and then this happens or that happens. So in Europe, dating is based on connection. You meet someone, you go for a drink, and hey, do you click? Yeah, so you go for another drink, and it's really about the feeling, how much you like each other. And if you really like each other, we don't care. You might do something. You might even sleep with someone, even when maybe it's the first date, maybe it's the fifth. It doesn't matter. It happens when you feel the connection. That's what's the most important part. Yeah, for us in Europe. And when I'm telling these stories, they're like, yeah. Obviously, and you also said that something like that happened where girls are very, very kind of agreeing very much to this, right?
Yeah, I didn't say it as eloquently as you did, because I basically was trying to reverse engineer from what you told me. So yours sounds so much better than my rambling about the same thing on my date. But no, really, I'm gonna probably listen back to this so that I have it like locked in proper. I did miss
Yeah,
this last night, but like to continue, I did mention it when you told me. I was like, oh, okay. So for the one date where I got that same lay, like I brought it up, and yeah, she was like, yeah, I believe the same thing. It should be all about the vibe. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they always agree on the date. That's just the first step.
yeah. Did they agree to it on like a logical level, on like a verbal
Yeah,
level?
yeah.
But when it comes to actually doing things, it they turned out to be more traditional. But I was using this. I would say this inception technique to seed beliefs, to seed about ideas, to seed ideas about how dating works in Europe or in the US and in other parts of the world in general, and how that's much more natural and how it's so nice. And then some people, start with that, but then they end up in a relationship because they really clicked, and how it starts casually. So and this worked really, really good. I have played around with ideas like this before, but never in such depth. So I do think that the whole idea of inception of seeding ideas is a very powerful tool for day game, which we already can have been using for a long time. I think many people have been using this, especially advanced day gamers, where they tell stories about something they've done or something that's happened, and they set the vibe that this is playful, this is fun, and fun is good. Yeah. So that was one thing that we used. But the other thing that we started talking about on the last podcast episode, a great thing we had to learn in Uganda was to break the one of the biggest rules in Daygame. One of the biggest rules in Daygame is don't use logic to make a girl change her mind. But we use logic to make a girl make a conscious decision that she's gonna have sex with you. Like that's it. There was no, you needed logic. You needed her to make a step-by-step decision. And this was a real game changer for me. And this already happened on the first date in Entebbe, where we were just for like 2 nights, I think, right? Because you went out for a dinner, I pulled the girl back, and she's ready. Like she's already like, by the time you get home, I hear the gate open and close, and turns out I hadn't read the message that you're saying we're coming home. I am sitting on the sofa completely naked. She's on top of me, like in her like thong underwear, like just topless, and I realize, oh fuck, they're coming home. We gotta bolt to the bedroom really quick. But then there was like, even though she's already almost naked, there is that last minute, there was just a block. And I've used all the tools, and I think that like if there is, I think one last minute resistance is one thing I'm really, really good at. And I use the whole date to lead towards that moment, to kind of set everything up, all the beliefs, the inception, and absolutely everything. And then for the last moment, because of that, last minute resistance oftentimes doesn't happen. So it was great when it finally did. I loved it. I finally am having fun, and I can play around, and there's, so a little like game to play. It's like, oh my God, so great. But with everything I did, still there was like last kind of, last border that I wasn't able to cross. And with this girl, with the first one in Entebbe, I actually played around with consent. I literally, I think I asked, "Hey, are you fine with like I want to feel how wet are you? How wet you are? Are you fine with that?" I literally asked, which was like, we later discovered an even better way, because what happened as soon as we got to Kampala on the first day there, it was basically the girl is already like topless, and she's on, like it's just, you can see her fighting that big battle, and she's like, I gotta go. And I'm like tired by that moment. I'm like, whatever, like fuck this. And she's almost ready to like, but I see her, she wants to go, but she's laying on a bed, but she's not getting up. She's still laying there, even she says she has to go. And she's like, and you see that big battle. And I just asked her a question: what will you regret more tomorrow, having sex with me or not having sex with me? And as soon as I asked that, she's like, oh, not having sex with you. And from that moment on, still there was some resistance. So I had to turn her on again, a bit of fingering and stuff like that. But as soon as, but it wasn't hard to, like, just a little bit of, turning her on, and that's it. But she still had to make that logical decision. And I had the same experience on all but one lay. Only the last lay was the only one where this didn't really play a role, because when she showed up to my place, she was just ready, the really hot one, right? But in the first three lays, each time there was some element of logic, either asking her what would she regret more, or kind of playing around with other things, or just playing around with consent, asking, hey, are you fine with me doing this? And then she, again, when you ask for consent, she has to make a logical decision. And then, well, I asked, she said yes, so okay, I guess this is fine, we're doing it now. And that made actually things easier, which, as weird as it sounds, turns out asking for consent works in some cases. So that was kind of my experience with using logic to get laid. You talked about your story on the last podcast episode that we did a week ago, or that I published a week ago, rather. Yeah. Anything you want to add on this, or did we cover your side of the story on that podcast episode?
Yeah, we covered it, and I literally experienced the same thing you did, which is like the battle. You can literally see the battle, and it's just like it's almost like I don't know. You just see like a battle being fought, and you can just tell that they want to stay, but there's something holding them back, and
Yeah.
it's yeah. If you hadn't told me before, um, the how you ended up using the logic thing and how I ended up experimenting with it myself, I would have probably maybe not gotten that far. I don't know. Who knows what that happened, but I found it to be a very useful tool, and being aware of it actually made me think back to a lot of times when I got maximum LMR, and I was like, maybe it should have just been, I should have just asked. I should have just asked. And that's one thing with the consent. And then the other is probably just get ahead of all of this beforehand. It makes sense to not wait for the resistance to happen to take care of it, but to plan so much farther ahead so that you have smooth sailing, right? You wanna get ahead of all the possible issues that could come up and not deal with them as they come up.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I told you to like to use these inception stories and things like that, and kind of talk about these adventures and what, like I just love what they just kind of going because it solves a lot of the problems before they even happen. And yeah,
I
before we
I
actually
want to
gonna
add
move,
something actually.
yeah,
So in addition to that inception, I think your inception story is also combined with one step at a time, because of the way you deliver it includes the one step at a time, which I think is a good one for if you want to pool, because one of the steps is, hey, you have drinks, you feel how it is. Maybe you touch and if you kind of like drop off. And then maybe you go to your place, but then nothing has to happen. And then maybe something does happen. Or you get undressed, but then you're like, oh, I changed my mind. You're free to go. And I think that that's just setting it up that you will respect boundaries and that there is no
yeah,
expectations, which should make it
yes.
easier for the pool.
Yes, and that's why I like that story because it shows this. Hey, saying no is okay, and it's absolutely fine, right? Yeah, and if anyone hasn't heard that story, then just go to my YouTube channel and search "One Step at a Time" theory. And there is a short video, well, 7 minute long video, it turns out, where I explain this story and how I use it on dates to build trust and to get laid with girls much easier. Yeah, it overcomes a lot of the last minute resistance. And at the end, there are a few questions I want to go over. But before we go there, for people who haven't heard the first two parts, in the first part, we covered very important points about when you should and when you shouldn't pay for her Uber. Yeah, it's you have to understand when is it a good idea, when is it not a good idea. But in my eyes, in Kampala, if she asked for it, I always paid. I didn't really give a fuck. And after dates, I almost paid without them. Always paid without them asking. That's one thing. But a more important thing about Kampala, in Uganda, there is like for a lot of there is a lot of kind of gray area around sex work, which is very important to understand, where a lot of girls will expect for you to give them something if you just have sex with them casually. And in their first episode, so that's 2 episodes ago, we covered how do you find out if she's one of those girls, and how do you avoid these mistakes, because it's very important to recognize these problems ahead of time, because what happens if you don't, you might end up with a chick in your room after you have sex with her. She's asking for money and she's not leaving until you give her money, and the building security will not help because they don't care. Yeah. The police will not help because in Kampala, police isn't really a thing. You can't rely on police for pretty much anything, I would say, right? Um, so it's very, very important to know how to filter out these girls that will ask for something. And I explain the story that I tell to all girls, including day game girls, before meeting them, to filter out for such issues. And one of the girls who I didn't go on a date with was actually a lead from Daygame, where I realized that if I sleep with her, she's going to expect money. So I just didn't go out. I kind of stopped texting her. So just listen to those if you're really thinking about going to places like this. You understand how to avoid these kind of problems that are going to be pretty hard to get away from, right? And then with this being said, let's quickly touch. Not everyone who goes on day game trips, like a lot of guys want to do something else as well. They don't want to. They don't want to just day game. So we did something. What do you think are you grew up there, right? So what do you think are the best things to do in Uganda outside of day game and dating in general?
Safari, 100%. Like, and that's one of the things that took us there because I really wanted to do a safari. You've been in for like, I don't know how many years. And
We've been talking about it for the 3 years, I think. It's like, let's do a safari. Let's do a safari.
yeah, but we finally got to do it. And we picked a spot that was really close. It's called Lake Umburo, which is cool because you actually get on horses and you can actually ride with the zebras and the antelopes. So that was cool. It's very different from being just in a van or in a car where you look at them from a distance. I think you can agree that the horse ride was probably one of the best parts of that trip.
Dude, 100%. Like you're on a horse and you're riding a horse and there are like zebras all around you and little pumbas, however they're called, yeah, and all types of antelopes and it's just all around you and you're just oh my god. The walking safari was good as well, but yeah, but that was super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so the safaris are there. There's also the gorillas, like the different versions of safaris. Anyone that comes here can choose to do those. And then there's also like boat rides you can do on the lake. Like we went to the source of the Nile, so on the Nile River, and we ended up on this one little island. I don't know if it's a man-made island or something that's really close to the actual source itself, like where the lake becomes the river. And there was a bunch of people that were just high on acid. I think you're the one that told me that.
No, you were no way. Was it the other guy we were there with who saw that they're taking acid?
Oh yeah, maybe
Because a
someone said you
guy
should
gave her
drop a.
a guy took a dropper and put something on the girl's tongue, and they were all so hippie-ish, and then yeah, it was obvious that it wasn't vitamin D.
Yeah, yeah, the 100% hippie, like basically the people you'd find like going, "Hey man," like with all their like crystals and everything. But yeah, we run into these people on the river boat ride. Yeah, and the different things you can do on the lake and hang out on the beaches. What did I want to do? Oh, there's also like rapids, so you can go whitewater rafting or bungee jumping close to the waterfalls. Just a few outdoor stuff there.
Yeah, Safari was amazing. Like I highly suggest doing that. Lake Mburo, the one we did, was just incredible. Yeah, we did a night game drive where we see some leopards stalking some antelopes. We didn't see him attack because the antelopes caught a whiff of him and just run away. That was really cool. Yeah. Okay, so last two questions. Number one, Senor Mister T, would you go again on like a trip for dating to Kampala? Would you repeat this?
Yes, not necessarily a day game trip. I'd have to just be here longer because yeah, like you just, unless you're going on a marathon where you happen to like plan everything out and you're as sexy as Saint Robot and you get 300 matches and you don't know what to do with them, you may want to do a little bit of a slow burn. So having a few more weeks, like maybe 8 weeks, you can probably, we'll see how this goes. I have a bunch of leads lined up. I'll maybe give a really quick update after my trip ends to see how many of those actually ended up as lays. But I have a bunch in the pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
will do it again.
if there is a lot to update, we will probably add like a pinned comment on YouTube. So if people wanna watch it, we're gonna put like a little update there. Yeah. So would you do this? You would do a longer trip, yeah?
Yeah, longer trip. Though then again, I just want to check out now Kenya or Nairobi because I know that other friend went there and it was like it was different vibe completely. So I'm actually curious to see what it's like closer to the coast.
Yeah. Would I go again to Kampala on a day game trip? On a day game trip? On a dating trip in general? No. Uh, definitely not. Uh, But I would go again to see the gorillas, and then if I go as far, I go if I fly so far to see gorillas, then I would probably stay there for a few weeks again to have some fun. Yeah. The reason why I wouldn't go because as sweet as the girls were, they weren't really my taste in like the bodies. Like they had nice asses, also like big small ones. I like small ones, but they had very nice asses, but they didn't have nice tits. And I'm really a tits guy, and the ones that had tits, they weren't great. Like the ones that were bigger, they weren't great. Like one had what we call National Geographic titties, which I was kind of disappointed with. And so that's the reason why I wasn't a big fan. But if you like booties, like it's definitely a place to go to. But if I had a different reason to go to Uganda, I would stay for a few weeks again, just because the girls were sweet, they were nice. Again, I like going on dates there. There were some challenges, which I like to challenge myself because you like in some places it's just a little bit too easy. This was a nice challenge. The challenge you had to solve on a date. That's a nice bottleneck because there you can solve it slowly, not like stupid rejections and blowouts and flaky numbers. That's annoying to solvers. Solving dates is much more interesting. Yeah. And any other places like now that we've been on a day game trip to like a wild place where no other day gamer has been before. At least we didn't find any evidence. Like where else would you want to go on like a like a more interesting trip than Buenos Aires or Playa del Carmen, all of these places that everyone has been to?
Cape Town comes to mind. Cape Town for sure. For actual proper day game, yeah, Cape Town. I don't know what the scene is like there, but I imagine, um, maybe better. I don't know. We probably should do some research. So Cape Town's a thing.
Yeah, I would be interested in something in Asia because I have never day gamed in Asia. Um, Filipinos are cute and they speak English.
Okay, I can get
So
behind that.
somewhere in the Philippines, but we would need like a bigger place. Mr. Majestic has done Philippines, I think, more than once. So I think that would be worth it for the English level. I mean, obviously, I would want to do a place like Japan or South Korea, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't go there for day game because of the language barrier. I just don't want to deal with it. It's just from everyone who I've talked to who has been to these places, the language barrier is real. Uh, I don't want to deal with that. It's just I think it would be a bit too much pain in the ass. It would be a fun trip. It would be amazing. I mean, I'm sure we would have an amazing time, but I would rather go place where I can without worrying just day game in English and so probably Philippines. Although it sounds like a cop out answer because it's Philippines is considered to be like a super easy place.
Hmm.
So I don't know. So definitely, in would I go somewhere else in Africa? I would definitely go somewhere else in Africa. I would have to do research. What's a place where they have nice tits?
You gotta do your
In
research.
yeah, so because I've heard about some places with really nice girls, but I would have to do more research. Latin America, there is no place that I haven't been to that I want to go to. I've been to all the places where I want to go. Most of them, like some of them were great. Most of them were really not worth the trip. It's worth for other things, but not for game. Yeah. Um, so yeah, so that's me. Probably somewhere else in Africa and some like place in Asia where they speak good enough English. Okay, I guess.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Does this mean you're almost running out of places, new places to go day game from?
No, not really. First of all, these days, as you know, and as almost like most people know, I day game when I coach and when I go on like a rare day game trip. I don't day game on my again everyday life like this, and I haven't been doing it for a very long time. I day game all the time when I coach, and so that's still enough. But it's not like I'm like a few years ago, I realized all the crazy fantasies I've realized. And it's like, it's not really like, I don't really care about going to a new place on a day game trip like 5 times a year. I love doing it once or twice a year. Just go somewhere on a day game trip, have some fun, bang some chicks, all the nice stuff. But like once or twice a year. And it's enough because day game is my job, and I'm exposed to day game all the time. I listen to sets with my students every week. So like I get to hear sets from all over the world, from very different guys in very different environments. So, I'm still very deep in it, but I don't really care about going to places and doing it. I care much more for getting other people laid. That's what gets me excited these days. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, I guess that's it, Mr. T. Thank you for this amazing journey that you pretty much organized. You set everything up. You did all the research. So it all happened thanks to you. And I hope we do another wild trip next year. Let's see what happens with you work-wise and what time zones we can do. But yeah, I'm definitely down for like a few weeks next year. to somewhere else adventurous where not a lot of people have been.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down. We'll figure out where we're going next.
That's it for this time, and if after watching this you decide you want to join me on my next Daygame trip to Mexico, then again, you'll find all the details about how coaching usually works, approximate pricing, etc. linked in description. There, you'll also be able to schedule a free call where we'll get to know each other, talk all the details, and understand whether this is a good idea for you. So hopefully, see you soon. Ciao, guys.